So I was talking about aliens and how the fallen angels are obviously masking themselves as aliens or ghosts, as I'll later explain. Um, and that these people that get abducted can feel the evil that these beings portray. You know, being in this earth after so much time, one can only imagine how hateful they have gotten. Um, and one thing that also verified what you know what my hypothesis on these guys were is is that whenever one person, one of the victims that was about to be abducted, when they started to say Jesus Christ's name, the abduction would end. It would stop. They would go away. Obviously, that's a name they respect and they know. How would Why would aliens care about that name if they're truly from other planets? So that made a lot of sense too, because obviously they're evil entities. That's one of the ways that you can push them away. So that's on aliens, and that was when I was really young, and then started looking into the Mayans. A lot of their things, what they did is, um, that became really interesting, is that you start to look at a lot of old civilizations, such as the Mayans, Indian civilizations, Chinese, um, Nordic, everywhere basically. Um, and there's evidence of these fallen angels having what do you call it? Having an influence on all these civilizations. For instance, the Mayans. We went to mm, we went to a Mayan pyramid near Cancun, and you can see on the side of the pyramid where one of their gods is portrayed as a feathered serpent. I think it's Tlaloc, the name of the god, but it's one of their main gods, and you can see right there that it's a serpent. It's a feathered serpent. Let's see if I can look up in the Bible, but that's that's how it's portrayed in the Bible. I mean, Satan, since the serpent of old, is portrayed as having feathers. I'll look for the verse and I'll put it up. So you see it there. You also see it on the another temple that they have there at Tulum. It's a really nice architectural. Archaeological site that's on the beachfront, and they have a temple for another one of their gods, deities, and they have a carving on the temple that shows a their god falling from the sky, falling head first, and I think he also had wings as well. So you see all these elements of the Bible. If you hypothesize that, hey, everything that the Bible says, it's true, but then you mix it with human history, everything clicks, everything makes sense. If you start and think about it, these fallen angels fell, and they obviously told their story to these Indian people, the Mayans, the Indians, the Chinese, the old civilizations. They told their story, and these guys obviously had powers, and obviously the indigenous people would worship them, and they would carve, what they saw. Hey, this god told me that he fell from the sky and he had wings and everything. And so you see it here with the Mayans. You see it elsewhere. The Hindus also have a serpent god, a feathered serpent. Um, the aliens, also the people that have been abducted, also have seen things that they remember when when they're actually abducted in the spaceship or whatever. Is that these aliens have tattoos of a feathered serpent, which I thought was really curious, and I thought was, hey, I mean, everything is about these guys. Everything in the history of the world has been and always will be, and there's no denying that the Bible is true because it's everywhere. It's always been about God, and it's always been about Satan. And obviously, Satan's the ruler of this world right now, at least. And there's evidence everywhere, but just people are blind to it. They don't want to see it. And he's done a good job. Obviously, he's really smart, and from keeping all that information from people, he just wants them to live their lives, think that aliens don't exist, ghosts are, things that people see. My people disappeared because they were crazy. I'm sorry, not crazy. Just they disappeared and nobody knows. It's just a mystery. He just wants you to live your life, buy lots of stuff, at least in America. Have your indulgences and whatever you want, and sex and drinking and parties and how do you say it, and covetousness of material things and fashion, and just wants you to lead a vulgar life. That's really not what God intended us to do. And he's trying to keep God from us. He's trying to keep God from touching our hearts, from leading us to salvation. It's so easy, but a lot of people just don't care. They don't realize what we're missing. They don't see that. Yeah, you can have a nice car, you can have whatever you want, you can have your house, you can have all the good things that you like here in life. But this is basically garbage. If you saw what God has for you in heaven, if you saw all the other worlds that you could see, if you saw what you could do, you could fly, you could I don't know, go back and forth in time maybe, or if you saw the colors, all the different spectrum of radiation that we can't see, if you could see all the phases, all the different things, all the corners of the earth that we don't know, the water, the living with animals as God intended it to. I see animals playing with each other all the time. Bears and tigers and humans and cheetahs and a cheetah and a dog that were best friends. That's how God intended it to. He made companions for us, and we're just supposed to be happy all the time and be with God. But anyway, you can see it throughout civilizations how these fallen angels have had a definite influence in our human history that has now been hidden. Makes sense now that all these Mayan records were never found, because obviously, they probably had some more information in there about these guys. Ghosts. One of the videos that I wanted to talk about at the beginning was a video of Jaime Maussan. He's a Mexican ghost hunter, and it showed a video of an old castle. I think it was in an old house or a castle. I forget what it was. But the camera went really close up to a wall that was supposedly, one of the most haunted walls in that place. And obviously, they take a video. Can't really listen to anything, but when they play it back with a better audio, you can listen. Well, you can hear a voice say, "Let me inside you, let me inside you." So I thought, at the time I heard it, I thought it was kind of strange because, why would a ghost want to be inside you? It seems kind of strange. Makes more sense for a demon to say that. And I thought, hey, maybe these guys are demons, they're not ghosts, and yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Obviously, these guys being around, in spirit form, which also relates to the alien theory because, I believe there's a lot more dimensions, than obviously than we can see right now. Obviously, we have 3 spatial dimensions. We have the 4th one, which is time. Gravity, I don't know if it's much of a dimension more than a force, but it might be deemed as another dimension. Aside from those, there's about, I think, 5 more or 6 more that are believed to exist with by general physics theories that are, I don't know if they're proven, but they're pretty standard right now. And obviously these guys are in another dimension. Sometimes they can cross over a little bit and portray themselves as a spirit, as a visual form that we can see. Obviously it affects electromagnetic fields. Sometimes we can see them through light. Sometimes they can just modify the electromagnetic field and disturb electromagnetic. Electronics. Computers, video cameras, things like that. So that makes a lot of sense. If all these guys are aliens or ghosts, they're the same thing, but they're just in another dimension. One of the other things that relates to this is CERN, the Large Hadron Collider under Swiss and France, which is curiously backed up by one of the most occult organizations. It's either Masons or the Illuminati. I don't really like to call them that. They're more of a globalist group. It's basically the group of rich people that have all the money in the world, even more money than nations, than the U.S. or Russia. And these guys basically fund this Large Hadron Collider, which obviously in their roots or satanic goals for this scientific instrument, which is trying to find smaller particles and maybe open up, ways to go between dimensions, even if it's really small subatomic particles that can do that. And there's theses with physicists that have told of particles that can go through different dimensions, obviously for short amounts of time. And the curious thing about this CERN facility is that on the outside they have a Shiva, a Hindu god Shiva, which is a god of destruction, which makes you think what they want to do with these findings and their new scientific research. I'll stop this video for now. So, that's how I've been learning about these guys. So all these things really started to open my mind about fallen angels, and I started to get more curious, more interested. Not really in the holy aspect of the history of human history, but more in the unknown, the metaphysical, the the evil aspect of these curious things that I've been seeing and have have been occurring throughout history. So I'll leave it off here, and then I'll pick up next time with the other different things I've been learning throughout with our new pop culture and what's been going on with that.